Are you ready, Ians?
Ready. Soul
Resonance.
Do you guys remember your first anime? And no, I am not talking about your typical Saturday morning cartoons like Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, Pokemon. There are sure a lot of mons. And no, I am not talking about your late night cartoon anime either. I remember when I was little where I was willing to wake up 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning just to watch Inuyasha every day, only to be foiled by my own mother. She would barge into my room and telling me to go back to sleep. I wasn't supposed to be getting up and ready for school for another hour and a half. I love that anime, but surprisingly, that didn't make me an anime fan. I truly became an anime fan back in 2012 when the big three at the time were Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul, and Sword Art Online.
Hey, T-Dog, what is up in his house?
Yeah, one of the anime that got me hooked and make me an anime fan was Soul Eater. You gotta say it with a passion, man. Soul Eater. Soul Eater is the anime that solidified my weeb years, and I have to thank my brother for that. I'm not sure if he remembers this, but back when we were young teens, I went to check on what he was doing in the living room. He was watching TV and streamed episode 3 of Soul Eater on demand. Doesn't anyone remember On Demand? Good times. Now, if you know what happens on episode 3, then you understand my judgment for my brother. I was disgusted at first, but when he said, "Bro, it's not like that. It's actually pretty good. You just gotta ignore the weird parts," I was hesitant at first, but after watching the series, the domino effect was triggered. So thank you, brother, for making me the man I am today. A huge weeb, a VTuber, and a guy that's obsessed with femboys. Fuck you, moi. Soul Eater is about our heroes hunting down corrupted humans who consume innocent souls. If left unchecked, they could become one of the strongest godlike beings that rivals Death himself, a Kishin. At the Death Weapon Meister Academy, or DWMA for short, Meisters are skilled individuals that can wield people who can transform into demon weapons. Demon weapons, like I said, are people who can transform into various types of weapons such as a lantern, a scythe, and guns. Pretty much any weapon you could think of. Their goal is to collect 99 Kishin souls and one witch soul in order to become a Death Scythe. That's the title, by the way. Any weapon can become a Death Scythe. But what is different is that the Death Scythe unlocks a hidden potential of a demon weapon, making them stronger, and could potentially accompany Death himself as his personal weapon. The relationship between Meister and weapon isn't that simple. Both of them must have compatible soul wavelength in order for a Meister to wield the weapon properly. For example, Soul and Blackstar are best friends and have a great relationship, but despite how close they are, their souls are incompatible. Because of that, Blackstar struggles to lift Soul's weapon form. That scene reminds me of how the Hulk failed to pick up Mjolnir. It's a funny scene, but this scene perfectly demonstrates that the inherent limitations of soul resonance.
The resonance of the souls. Meister and weapon harmonize. The Meister passes soul waves to the weapon. The weapon then magnifies the waves and passes them back. They repeat this process until they create a soul wave more powerful than either is alone.
There's another scene where Maka and Soul are having relationship issues, which cause Maka's hands to start burning and could no longer proficiently wield Soul. And that's what makes Soul Eater power system stands out from other series. It is the soul compatibility that directly affects the Meister and weapon's ability to perform in combat. Our protagonist goes through all kinds of wacky adventures, ranging from fighting giant golems with chainsaws to episodes centered around a school exam. This is one of my favorite episodes. Soul Eater balances comedy, action, drama, and keeps the story entertaining the whole way through. Why am I talking about this? Well, that's because it's not a coincidence why I want to talk about Soul Eater right now. Everyone remembers Fire Force? When the smiling moon got revealed, Twitter exploded and such. Then the final episode ended with a reference to soul resonance and deeper Soul Eater connections. The fans lost their minds. It was awesome seeing both the series connect. I bet a lot of newer anime fans immediately wanted to binge the Soul Eater after that. But I don't think many people even know Soul Eater already has another spin-off series. And it's called Soul Eater. And I could truly say is that it was the first hard lesson for me that not all spin-offs are good. Almost every popular franchise gets a prequel, a sequel, and a spin-off series. Some are great, others are terrible. Soul Eater Not definitely leans towards the latter, but how? How does Soul Eater fumble its first spin-off series? It came before Fire Force, but it vanished quickly and was barely talked about ever again. In theory, the concept of the anime is cool as hell. Expanding the Soul Eater universe, show more world building, introduce new characters, explore Death City. That should have worked, but in execution?
Your abnormally flat-chested condition is contagious, unacceptable.
Well, let's talk about it. I remember being in high school during my prime weeb years when I saw the official poster for Soul Eater spin-off series. I was hyped, my friends and I were excited, and we saw the new protagonist. My first reaction to the poster was kinda mixed. I remember thinking that the black-haired girl was probably Maka's daughter or maybe Death the Kid's future child. Still, I don't mind that it focused on new characters. It's a spin-off series after all. I didn't expect the original protagonist to be heavily involved, so I stayed optimistic. Then the trailer released and we saw Maka.
What the hell?
Oh my god. That should have been the first red flag for the disaster I was about to watch. I'm not going to be negative this whole video, so let's start with something I actually like about the series. The world building. No, really, this is the best part about the series. We get to see more of the Soul Eater universe through the perspective of the DWMA students. Our main character, Sugami, enrolls in DWMA to learn how to control her newly discovered weapon powers. And we get to learn there are two school curriculums. The N0T class, normally overcome target class, a non-combative side of the school focused on helping weapons control their powers and hone the skills of the Meisters, and the EAT class, especially advanced talent class. This is where the elite students go out and fight evil while trying to create death sites. This is where the original cast mostly belongs.
Royal Thunder!
Apparently, the N0T class makes up about 90% of the school's population, meaning that only 10% of the students are out there doing anime protagonist nonsense. That's actually a cool detail. We also get to see the student lives, the cafes, bazaars, and more of Death Cities beyond just the academy. And apparently, weapons gets discriminated for being too dangerous, as we can see a glimpse of Patty and Liz's backstory. I'll get to them later. It's interesting to see a different perspective of an average citizen and their opinion on the existence of demon weapons. I also like how we get to flesh out the characters from the original series as well, such as Sid before he becomes a funny zombie.
Trying to remember my manners. That's the kind of man I was.
And these two girls, Kim and, I kid you not, Jacqueline O'Lantern. That's such a cool name for a lancer that shoots fireball. I love their Yuri relationships and their other plot lines in the anime, since in the original they only appear briefly. Is that it? Okay, now let's get to the bad stuff. Problem starts as early as episode 1, and it all started with a difference in art style. Don't get me wrong, the anime itself is solid. It has that softer, fluid style that was common at the time. In fact, you could argue it looks better than some of the seasonal slop we got now. But what disconnects me is how different it feels from the original. I know it's unfair to compare it to the original, but the comparison is unavoidable when this is a spin-off. When you look at both shows side by side, they don't look like they belong in the same universe. The original had bold colors, exaggerated camera angles, sharp style, and personality in every frame. N0T looks cleaner, brighter, and surprisingly more generic. Even the characters' redesigns felt off-putting. When comparing the new art styles to the old one, my brain could not comprehend, nor wanted to believe that these are the same characters. Like, where is the sharp nose? Why does everyone has normal anime faces now? And oh my God, Patty, what did you do to her? Her eyes in the original were big and innocent, but here her eyes are smaller, lifeless, and far apart like those female characters designs in Dr. Stone. I thought maybe it's because it might be a different studio work on N0T, like the one with One Punch Man. We don't want to talk about that. But no, both of them are made by Studio Bones, so I have no idea what the fuck happened here. And the tone is different too. The original was grim, stylish, action-packed, and balanced it with all the over-the-top anime comedy tropes to it.
Halloween cannon!
But in N0T, the tone is different. It's more lighthearted and restrictive, if you know what I mean. It's like it's embarrassed to be more energetic, embracing the tropes. It had the anime trope bath scene, sure, but it's too afraid to be a little silly in every action comedy. You know, I think N0T's tone feels off because of its genre. What are you talking about, Ainz? They're both action comedy. What do you mean? Well, what I mean is that N0T focused more on a slice of life. Yeah, the original has some slice of life elements here as well, but it's not the primary focus of the show. If anything, N0T piggybacks a lighthearted slice of life comedy rather than the over-the-top edgy comedy we love from the original.
Yeah, it is me, the one and only Black Star!
Oh, but we cannot forget what makes up the series without our main protagonist. First, we have Sugumi, and she is my favorite of the trio. She's trying her best, inspired by Maka, learning how to be a better person, helping others, and dealing with her own weaknesses. She can't transform properly, she panics under pressure, and she feels helpless. She isn't a badass, but it's nice that we don't have a main character going around kicking ass, and not afraid to show any flaws. Which is good art for a main character to go through before she eventually becomes a death scythe. I also like her little catchphrase she makes too.
Gigantus! Gigantus?
What I do not like about her is that she is so indecisive of who her Meister should be. It should have been obvious from the start. Anya, a princess who ran away from home and joined DWMA, at least she can fight what she learned from her Royal Karate Fight Club. Only by default, because Meme, yeah, she may have fighting experience, but is an airhead who constantly forgets everything. At first it's cute, but it gets old real quick and it's frustrating. How did she even get accepted into the academy? Is there like an assessment for these students to take to qualify as a Meister? Do they just let anyone in? I would not want a Meister that doesn't even remember their own name.
I thought I knew it, but I guess I forgot. Huh? Your name?
On the other hand, Anya is a stuck-up and prideful princess that really likes commoner culture. She spends all of her allowance at Markins and buys random shit like that Tanuki statue she named Josephine. And the only reason why she's even friends with Sugumi is because she is the most commoner of all commoners.
An authentic commoner!
What?
So we have an indecisive weapon, a fucking idiot, and a royal pain in the ass commoner taku. And these are our star leads. It's a shame because whenever the anime focus on the other characters like Sid, Kim, Jacqueline, Liz, Patty, and many more, it improves the show. Our new leads should have carried the story. Instead, they feel like side characters in their own show. Speaking of side characters, I have no idea how, but it's like they retcon existing characters too. Sid, Kim, and Jacqueline, they have great character developments throughout the anime, and I'm all for that. I'm just confused about Patty and Liz. Oh, we kind of know what their background was before the spinoff, and we know what their personality is as well. This version of Patty and Liz, they are just completely different characters. But I like that their background gets fleshed out much better here because we get to see what they were before they met Deadly Kid. We know they're from a rich household, that some unfortunate circumstances occurred, maybe relating to being demon weapons, fending off in the streets, and acting like thugs.
Why do you come down here every day, you little freak?
What do you think I come here for?
That's awesome. But seeing them here bewilders me, especially Patty most of all, where she is not bubbly or energetic, she's more somber and aggressive. So seeing them have a different personalities threw me off a bit, but I like their development, so I guess they get a pass. But like, why is everyone more interesting than our main trio? Well, there's a reason for that. In a Wikipedia article, cause I'm lazy, Asushi Akubo created the original Soul Eater, wanted to focus on the action and momentum of the story, meaning that he wants to develop his characters through the current events rather than flashbacks or other everyday activity. But around the 20th volume, he realized it's kinda too late to explain certain details in the world of Soul Eater. So he compromised by creating a spin-off series to elaborate on the world of Death City and the Academy itself, which is a pretty clever, and we get to see more insights of the universe.
I never heard of that place before. You know, Maymay, given your memory problems, that doesn't necessarily come across as a joke. It's not. What is the DWMA?
However, this is not what the audience wanted, including unappreciated from the West like myself. I mean, you have to see where we come from. The series ended with a really bad final episode and we crave more, especially when the manga has a bunch of cool shit that has happened in the series. Hell, every year there was a spiral of memes going around on April 1st. Those on Twitter keep saying Soul Eater's getting a new season. So yeah, we were blue-balled, and with the announcement of the new series that has the Soul Eater name, there was a lot of expectations, and the result was divisive. I mean, the show works in theory, focusing on everyday school life of DWMA students, but in execution, it's not what we wanted. Even though I love the world building of N0T, at the same time, I do not like it how it breaks its own world building. And this is the one thing that has bothered me for years. Soul Eater established that if two souls were incompatible, a Meister cannot properly wield that weapon. Compatibility matters. That was one of the coolest parts of the Soul Eater core power system. Yet in N0T, both Tsukumi's Meister's candidates can use her with little to no issues whatsoever, because if anyone can wield anyone now, then one of the original show's most interesting mechanics loses meaning. Tsukumi should have been trouble resonating with her friends, especially with their wavelength should have some incompatibility or issues of some sort. But the show ignores its fundamentals that anyone can wield the weapon. Like, that's not how that works. But what happened to wavelength compatibility? Did everyone just suddenly become universal adapters? I don't even know if Okubo forgot the power structure he set up in the previous series. Whatever the case may be, this broke the world of Soul Eater for me. You already know my answer. I do not like the anime at all. And yet I rewatched it for the sake of this video. And I thought that after rewatching it, I appreciated it a bit more. And yet it did, but it still does not save the show from being what the way it was. Pretty bad. If you think that maybe the manga would be better, sorry to burst your bubble, but you pretty much watched the entire manga. Not only has 5 volumes, it's meant to be a mini-series, focusing on the slice of life elements of the DWMA students, and never meant to have a continuation. So we have no idea what happened to Sugumi, Meme, Anya, and the other characters during the events of Soul Eater. And the original characters of N0T only get brief cameos or no appearances at all, which is a shame. I would like to see more of Eternal Feather's character development.
I'll probably always have this scar, but I figure at the DWMA that's a badge of honor.
Look, I do not mind a change in animation, I do not mind a change in genre, I do not mind the change in tone, and I do not mind a few retcons here and there. But at that point, is it even a spin-off series? Like, Fire Force is much more of a spin-off series than N0T. I mean, there are other plethora of shows and such that has good spin-off series. For example, Full Metal Panic. It's a serious action anime where people literally die, and it has a spin-off series called Full Metal Panic Fumofu, which takes a more comedic approach. I mean, you have seen clips of the show on social media here and there.
Eat this!
And I really enjoy both of these series, despite having a completely different tone from one another. Or normie example, The Big Bang Theory with Sheldon. Sheldon takes a more single camera comedy approach rather than the laugh track we all knew and loved from The Big Bang Theory.
Is this part of the tour?
Nope. Goodbye.
These spin-offs work because the show commits to their new identity, bring fresh ideas, and respect their predecessors, while Not has a bit of an identity crisis. It isn't really funny enough to be a comedy, nor intense enough to be an action anime. This anime doesn't work because of how fundamentally different and disconnected from Soul Eater. You have to wait until episode 7 for the anime to pick up its pace, which sucks because you have to watch almost 3 hours for anything to happen. But if you're a weekly watcher like I was, then you had to wait almost 2 months. It was dreadful. I mean, the last few episodes are good with a few plot twists and tragic moments here and there, but at that point, the majority of the fandom already checked out. I mean, if it was your typical spring anime slop with the same art style, slice of life element, and watch it in between your favorite shows, it wouldn't get that much hate. In fact, I'd say it's an alright show. However, just because it has a Soul Eater name, it sets high expectations, and it just doesn't deliver. Though there might be promise for the Soul Eater franchise, fans are speculating a potential reboot since the Fire Force ending shows the title card. Next is Soul World, with the Soul Eater logo. Of course, it's just speculation, and no studio has any confirmation of a potential reboot. Who knows, it might get announced in due time, or I'm just coping. As for Not, just view it as a supplement to the franchise. Don't see it as Soul Eater 2. See it as just a slice of life anime that so happens to take place in the Soul Eater universe. And maybe you might get some enjoyment out of it. That's the best approach for the series. Just don't have any high expectations, and maybe you can appreciate it for what it is.